for me, the overarching theme of the film is parenthood. Thank you so much, Steve, for taking the time.
Thank you. Honestly, this is great. I'm speaking with Minos Papas, the director of Motherwitch. Um, Thank you so much for the time. This is a really fascinating film. I'm excited to chat about it. Where did it come from, Minos? How did this film come to be?
So, I am originally from Cyprus, a small Mediterranean island country in southeastern Europe. And I've lived in the US for over 25 years, made two features in the US, but Mother Witch is my third feature and my very first in being made in Cyprus. And I've always wanted to go back home and make a movie there. Cyprus is an ancient land. It has a lot of sort of legends and myths built into the landscape. It's peppered with ruins and not just man-made, but like, you walk around and there's 800-year-old olive trees just everywhere. So I had always wanted to do something in Cyprus, and I came across this book by an artist, a local artist, which was an in-depth analytical study of this specific folklore of the Kalikantzari creatures, which are these goblin type, half child, half goblin, half child, half animal, I should say, creatures that come out during the 12 days of Christmas. They appear on Christmas Eve, and then they're around until the 6th of January, which is the Epiphany. And reading these books and looking at the illustrations, I just got really inspired. And doing my own research, I found that these creatures are actually, or a version of them, is that they are the spirits of lost, deceased children who died at birth or young and unbaptized, and they come back to haunt their parents during Christmas. So you have this juxtaposition of Christmas being the celebration of birth and new life, and then this idea of lost life coming back, you know? Plus, combined with uh, the experiences of a friend of mine who was a painter, is a painter and a poet, and she tragically lost her first child at a very, very, very young age. And she wrote an incredible book of poetry and painted about him. And I realized how, even though he had passed away, he was still such a huge presence in her life. And this idea of people who we've lost being a presence has always been like a theme in my work. So combining these two elements led to the conception of Mother Witch.
I'm fascinated by this because you're right. There are so many things going on in this film. And you brought up so many things here that I want to discuss. It's great. But let's start with the power of art here because that is a fascinating and a key theme in this film. And where art is seen as a relief, but also a call in the midst of grief. In your talking to your friend or in your mind, what is it about art that makes it such a potent and powerful way to deal with our innermost feelings and hurts?
Well, I mean, I think it's a therapeutic process. I mean, art is how we express our grief, our pain, our joy, whether that art is a painting or a poem or a movie. And I think that powerful communication that you get through a piece of art is a kind of magic. It's a kind of a spell, it's sorcery almost, the good kind. And I wanted to play with that theme of creation and destruction in the film. So the creation, birth, Christ, Christmas, and then destruction, death, pain, loss. How does one deal with loss? using art as a therapeutic element, but also how art can fight, how it's so easy to fall once you've lost and you're bereaved, it's so easy to fall into all the negative. It's natural to fall into all the negative emotions, loss, grief, pain, anger. But art is what can really, you know, alleviate that.
Yeah. There's something creative. In a way, it's like, well, in this film, I mean, there's certain this notion of giving life, literally through the art, or at least trying to, when you're at a loss for anything else. Um, I'm fascinated by the tension you said there too between, setting in a time of Christmas and also this time of grief. And I'm wondering, as you were preparing this, like what about that tension did you take away from it, or interested you most?
Um, well, I mean, it's a thematic conflict as well as the conflict between the characters. The film takes place in late 19th century Cyprus, and it's a time of uh, great sort of strife over there. The Cyprus used to be under the Ottomans in the 19th century, and in 1878, the British Empire took over, and they found an island in disrepair. There was poverty, there was squalor, and and in this world, in this newly colonial world, I wanted to tell this story. Um, and the story of Eleni, who loses her children, her three kids die, and she tries to bring them back to life by painting their portrait on Christmas Eve and using the blood of an innocent child in the paint. And she's a character who is played by Margarita Zachariou, who is one of Cyprus's most prominent actresses. And she goes through this incredible journey of loss and then this obsession to try and bring them back. And the only thing she knows how to do is create through art. And she recruits the help of a young boy to help her and to try and take his blood as well to use in the portrait. But the boy asks her at some point, what are you doing? Why do you paint? And she says, "Oh, because I can." And he says, "Why do you want to paint your children?" "To bring them back." And we've all lost loved ones. We've all we all have our memories, but at the same time, we all want to have something to hold on to from someone that we've lost or parted with, whether it's a photograph, a home movie, or a portrait.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you talk about the colonial history here, because I actually think one of the hardest scenes to watch in some ways is, I won't give away too much, but where one man says, "I won't have my men go without a Christmas meal." And that was actually very upsetting to see. But you see this tension of, even Christmas being almost, I don't want to use the term threat, but here it's almost, there's something wrong. There's something off in the way that, like you said, I love that tension between birth and new life and death and loss, which comes out so beautifully within this film. Can we talk about the role of the young man here in this film? Because I think it's interesting. I mean, much of the story is told through the eyes of, is it Eleni? Am I saying that right? Eleni?
Eleni is the mother,
The
yes, the
mother,
painter
yes.
mother who loses her children, the protagonist, yeah.
But then you've also got Mikalakis. Am I saying that well?
Perfect. Perfect.
Who is an interesting
Are you Greek, Steve?
character. No, if I'm doing well, I'm very
You-
thankful.
You're doing great, yeah.
Right. Um, but he's plays this interesting role in the film as well, because at one point I thought he was just going to sort of be involved in that journey, but he very much has his own story and this tension with his own family. And we do see a lot of the story through his eyes. I was wondering why you wanted to add that aspect to this particular film.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of storytelling structure of the dual protagonist always interested me, you know. I've made other films where I've had a very much a singular protagonist who carries the whole movie, but for this one, because for me, the overarching theme of the film is parenthood. Um, I wanted to have both sides of the coin. There is Eleni who's lost her children, but then you've got little Michalakis who has, in a way he's he has a lack of parents or parenting because his parents are quite oppressive, you know. So both are seeking two things. They're kind of two sides of the different coin, but they also are two puzzle pieces that fit with each other, you know. She is seeking to be a mother again, and he is seeking a parent. Um, and parenthood fits in with all the characters. There is the villager who has lost a child and is overprotective over her remaining child and won't let him do anything. There is, you know, the overprotective father of Mikalakis who is quite austere, you know, autocratic and pretty abusive, quite abusive. There is the villager who has not had any children, you know. There is and loves kids but hasn't had any. And there's also the colonial element of the British Empire, who is kind of like a parent. You've got the
Mm.
English being a parent to Cyprus in the 19th century, for better or for worse, and it kind of like bad parenting in a way, you know, institutionally. But yeah, so yeah, parenthood is definitely the theme.
You know, with having said this, I mean, you're dealing with themes of parenthood, you're dealing with themes of grief. I was wondering in your mind, with people you've spoken to, and I know everybody's grief journey is different, but maybe how it's been fed into these characters. What do you think hope looks like for them? Because I know certainly the film does not it end in a hopeless state. I won't say what happens, but it doesn't end hopelessly. But what do you think hope looks like for these characters who are dealing with such deep loss?
That's a very good question. I mean, I didn't want to make a film about loss, especially when it comes to a parent's loss of their children, that would end in a complete hopeful note where something happens and everything's fine at the end, you know, because once you've gone through something so traumatic, and so huge, it never goes away. You kind of have to learn to deal with it, and it becomes part of your life, and you carry it with you. You carry that lost loved one with you forever. And so I wanted to be, and this is something I learned from my close friend, and tried to be faithful to that idea and not give it a Hollywood ending, you know. And I think it's resonated with the audiences at Rotterdam, where the film had its world premiere, because we got quite a few comments about the ending and how people felt at the end, you know, what they carried with them out of the theater.
So yeah, so with the premiere, people were responding to that storyline, and they were speaking to you about it. What were some of the things you heard?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people were responding very well to the themes of creation. There's the themes of, you know, this missing ingredient that is needed to create the portrait of the children, which is the color red. And that's a theme that happens throughout the film and then appears again at the end. But you know, people were quite responsive to that, to the ending, as well as the world and the thematics of or the sorry the visual style of the film, because the
Mhm.
visual style of the film draws from painting of the 19th century, pastorals of the 19th century, and we filmed very much in that style together with my director of photography, Jack MacDonald. We created sort of pastoral landscapes. The landscape of Cyprus is gorgeous, as you saw, and it's like we filmed in winter, so it's not your typical Mediterranean. It's got these incredible cloudy skies with the sun bursting through them, and everything's green and brown, and It's a completely different picture from the summer of a Mediterranean sort of sunny yellow golden beaches. But painting is such a big theme. Also, like we drew inspiration from a the painter Kashalos, who is a Cypriot naive painter. He's a national treasure, considered a national treasure there, and he did these incredible sort of very two-dimensional paintings of village life.
Mm.
And in fact, he has one painting where the folklore of the film is very well illustrated. It is you see the women of the village throwing food up onto the rooftop where the Kalikantzari goblins have gathered,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah. It, yeah, I have to say the cinematography in this film is beautiful. It is gorgeous.
Thank you.
And it's got a gothic look to it at the same time. It's a fascinating tension. It's got beautiful landscapes, and yet at the same time, there's a menace in the shadows, and it works very well.
We took a lot of care to use a lot of darkness. We lit with firelight, candlelight. We used a lot of reflected light, natural light. And then we also did all our effects practically, with the exception of one CGI effect. But everything was done practically, and we did a lot of 1980s visual effects. Like we used cloud tanks for these thunderous clouds that you see, these to give them a supernatural quality. Um, I think audiences have become a little too accustomed and sort of saturated with the CGI looks, especially with AI tools coming to the fore now, and so we wanted to do something that was a lot more textural, practical, real, in our cinematography.
You can tell there is something tactile about the film. And I did not know that you film with natural lighting. That is interesting because I know how hard that can be. But it looks great, and honestly, it's a really fascinating piece. I really do appreciate the chance to chat with you about it. Thank you so much. It really, congratulations on the film. It's great.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. It's such a great pleasure to have the opportunity to chat with you about it.
Thank you so much, and I do hope that people get a chance to see it. It's beautiful. Have a great day.
You too. Cheers. Thanks.